Good morning. I'm Margaret Drinkwine. It's always a pleasure to welcome you, and it's always a pleasure to sit up here and hear all the joy in your voices as you're visiting in the mornings. You know, as a moderator, when you sign up as a moderator, you never know what you're going to get. It's kind of like Forrest Gump. I feel like I won the lottery today. What a great service to be part of. When I talked to Anthony earlier in the week, he was sad that he wasn't going to be here, but it's a pleasure to welcome Daniel Doss, who's an underappreciated visitor when he's at our piano. And we like to take this opportunity to welcome other visitors. Are there members who've brought visitors or met visitors today that they would be comfortable standing up and introducing so that we can know who you are and where you're from? Yes, ma'am.
I'm Robin Hathaway. This is my brother, Larry Miller, and he's visiting this weekend.
Welcome.
My name's Barbara Madera. I'm visiting my daughter here. She's a grad student in the UMKC theater program, which is there's some concern about it at the moment. And I'm visiting from the Houston, Texas area.
Well, welcome, and our thoughts are with you, MKC. Any other visitors today? Yes.
I'm Julie Stevenson. I'm from Santa Fe, New Mexico. I'm located in Kansas City.
Well, welcome. Welcome. Yes.
I'm Julie Fergal, and I'm from Arizona. I'm visiting family in Kansas City for a few months.
Welcome. We hope to see you again. Anybody else? I don't want to miss anybody. Yes. Well, welcome. Great. Yes.
I'm Amanda Lindahl here with the Giving Grove, and my friend Bill's going to say a few words about our organization. So I'm from Kansas City and excited to be a part of your all's offering this morning. So thank you so much in advance for thinking about your community.
Welcome, and we are looking forward to learning more about our special offering recipient today. Anybody else? And I should also say a welcome to our live stream for those who are going to be treated to seeing this from a distance. There is a table in the lobby for those who are visitors or have questions. And I understand there's a meeting after also, but just gather at the table in the lobby if you want some conversation. If you're new, relatively new, or just want to visit. And there is also a reception in the lobby afterwards for Bill and Bob, and there will be books and CDs, there will be food, there will be mimosas and Bloody Marys for sale, so please plan to stay after and join us.
I'm Bill Trowbridge, and I'd like to start things out with a poem that's related to what Bob and I are going to be doing later on in the service. This is by Billy Collins. Some of you may not have heard of him. He is a former poet laureate of the United States, and the poem is called Forgetfulness. The name of the author is first to go, followed obediently by the title, the plot, the heartbreaking conclusion, the entire novel, which suddenly becomes one you have never read, never even heard of. As if, one by one, the memories you used to harbor decided to retire to the southern hemisphere of the brain, to a little fishing village where there are no phones. Long ago, you kissed the names of the 9 muses goodbye and watched the quadratic equation pack its bag. And even now, as you memorize the order of the planets, something else is slipping away. A state flower, perhaps, the address of an uncle, the capital of Paraguay. Whatever it is you are struggling to remember, it is not poised on the tip of your tongue or even lurking in some obscure corner of your spleen. It has floated away down a dark mythological river whose name begins with an L, as far as you can recall, well on your way to oblivion, where you will join those who have even forgotten how to swim and how to ride a bicycle. No wonder you rise in the middle of the night to look up the date of a famous battle in a book on war. No wonder the moon in the window seems to have drifted out of a love poem you used to know by heart.
Now, please rise in, okay, we've got these things in different orders. All right, come do the chalice lighting. It may not be printed that way in the service. We'll do the chalice lighting, then the hymn, then our covenant, which is not in the order service, so it's going to be a creative day in so many ways.
My name is Khalil, and I light this chalice for the inherent worth and dignity of every person.
Thank you. Now please rise and body your spirit and join us in our first song, and stay standing for the covenant. If it doesn't come up on the screen, it is in your order of service. I knew it would come up. Please join me in affirming our covenant. Goodwill is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to seek the truth in love and to help one another. And now we'll sing the children off to their classrooms.
Good morning, everyone. Let me ask first, how many of you know about the Giving Grove as a result of Rob Ryman was here a couple of weeks ago, and perhaps you know by some other means? And how many of you recognize my face? Okay. As you probably know, I am involved with the Forum Committee and have made a couple of forum presentations. But today, I want to pick up on that covenant. Particularly in the context of what I know about the Giving Grove. You've heard the part about the trees and the fruit and the food desert, and that's all extraordinary work. Many of you are involved with Cultivate KC and other food-related issues, and so you know about the need for nutrition. And that is certainly an important, vital part of the Giving Grove mission. But what makes the Giving Grove different to me is the fact that if you go to their website and you look for the map that shows where they have planted trees in various numbers, what you will see is that it strictly correlates with the areas in Kansas City that have been blighted over the decades by racial injustice and redlining and white flight and a bunch of issues that are becoming more and more pressing for us. And the significant thing with the Giving Grove is, one, the trees, the fruit trees and the nut trees are not a quick fix to anything. So they require a certain amount of ambiguity at the start of the investment. Will these trees be properly cared for? Will they prove disease resistant? How long will it take to bear good and usable fruit? And so that second part about the capacity for delayed gratification, those two things add up to the need for a contract, as it were, between the people working with the Giving Grove and the neighbors. And so it's that aspect of neighborhood revitalization and giving not only hope of food that is part of the work of the neighborhood's own hands, but also giving a reason for people to come back and begin to be in conversation. And a bunch of us in this room are old enough to remember the Peace Corps. That was a major activity during the Kennedy administration and went on at the same time that our country was doing some rather foolish things on the military front. I like to think about what the Giving Grove is doing, and what I'm encouraging you today to think about and contribute to is that work of revitalizing neighborhoods. So I definitely support Amanda and her organization, and I encourage you to do the same, both from the standpoint of dedicating your donation, and if you'll be writing a check, please indicate Giving Grove on there, but also just from the standpoint of both your ongoing goodwill and prayers, and if volunteering in this kind of long-term, slow payoff way makes sense to you, this is an excellent organization, unfortunately one of the few that presently we have. So I really want to see that grow. I want to be able to say that people at All Souls understood and found ways to support that. So thank you very much.
Rows and flows of angel hair and ice cream castles in the air and feather canyons everywhere. I've looked at clouds that way, but now they only block the sun. They rain and snow on everyone. So many things I would have done, but clouds got in my way. I've looked at clouds from both sides now, from up and down, and still somehow it's clouds' illusions I recall. I really don't know clouds at all. Moons and Junes and Ferris wheels, the dizzy dancing way you feel as every fairy tale comes real. I've looked at love that way, but now it's just another show. You leave them laughing when you go, and if you care, don't let them know. Don't give yourself away. I've looked at love from both sides now, from give and take, and still somehow it's love's illusions I recall. I really don't know love love at all. Tears and fears and feeling proud to say I love you right out loud. Dreams and schemes and circus crowds, I've looked at life that way. But now old friends are acting strange. They shake their heads, they say I've changed. Well, something's lost, but something's gained in living every day. I've looked at life from both sides now, from give and take, and still somehow it's life's illusions I recall. I really don't know life at all.
Now please join me in the words of dedication for our offering. We dedicate our offerings and our actions to the mission at the heart of this congregation, to build a respectful, caring community, to inspire personal and spiritual growth, and to create a just and compassionate society.
I think the addition of the reading glasses is in the theme of the program today.
When I get older, losing my hair, many years from now, will you still be sending me a Valentine, birthday greetings, bottle of wine? If you'd been out till 2:45, would you lock the door? Will you still need me? Will you still feed me when I'm 64? When I'm 74? When I'm 84? When I'm 94?
Well, Bob and I have been thinking about aging lately, and maybe some of you have too. It sort of comes on you, doesn't it? And so we're going to do some songs and some poems. And I'm going to start out with something titled Aboard the Autumn House Oats Express. Cooped in that small white bus, they seldom feel their oats, much less so wild ones. They feel the urge to get away from their scoured room into home where they've ended up. Maybe visit some bright mall stores or watch a matinee. The air no longer sickly with piss and disinfectant, with warbles for nurse or mama or just a metronomic help me. They forfeited their cars, houses, their favorite food and drink that now disturb their bowels and no longer taste the way they ought to. Friends are dead or dying monthly. Yet most passengers stay civil, even gracious, smile instead of stew. Live long enough, don't sour, and there'll be a seat for you. Sticky notes. You all don't use those, don't you? I have them all over the house. They tell us to pay the bills, water the begonias, wish Aunt Estelle, the old bat, a happy 86th. or need a cruise as years go by and memory totters. We slap them on the fridge, car keys, toothbrush, though sometimes we can't tell what the hell we wrote on them. Near the final chill, we stick them on birds and trees, goldfinch, chickadee, sugar maple, weeping birch. But they come unstuck, swirl away, muddled among the snow geese and brown leaves.
Old friends, old friends, sat on their park bench like bookends. A newspaper blown through the grass falls on the round toes of the high shoes of the old friends. Can you imagine us years from today sharing a park bench quietly? How terribly strange to be 70. Old friends, memory brushes the same years, silently sharing the same fears. Old friend.
Old fools. Don't believe them that they used to dance a mean foxtrot, that they'd always been this way, doddering with canes and walkers, slowing traffic, waddles swaying as they wheeze into view, wobbly as drunks on fog, shamelessly wasting space in lines and parking lots. Imagine going out in public looking like that. And those noises and odors, pardon me, they flash at us like a note from the Pope. Mutter this and rasp that. Don't get them started on how lousy everything's turned since Kennedy won and men quit wearing hats. Why don't they stick to their own kind? We don't have time to deal with these people. Drop dead, we'd like to tell them, which seems the one thing they're halfway good at.
Eleanor Rigby picks up the rice in the church where her wedding has been. Lives in a dream, waits at the window, wearing a face that she keeps in a jar by the door. Who is it for, all the lonely people? Where do they all come from? All the lonely people, where do they all belong? Ah, look at all the lonely people. Ah, look at all the lonely people. All the lonely people, where do they all come from? All the lonely people, where do they all belong?
Long distance to my old coach. The reception's not bad. Across 50 years, though his voice has lost its boot camp timbre. He's in his 80s now, and in a recent photo, looks it. So bald and pale and hard to see behind the tallowing of flesh. Posing with friends, he's the only one who has to sit. The man 3 of us couldn't pin. The hugger, they christened him before my class arrived, for his bear-like shape and his first name, Hugh. He fostered even us, the lowly track squad. Mr. Morrison, I still call him. You were the speedster on the team, a flash, he recalls with a chuckle. That's where his memory of me fades. And what do I retain of him beyond the nickname, voice, and burly shape? The rest could be invention, memory and desire, sleight of hand, as we call up those we think we've known, to chat about the old days and the weather, bum hips and cholesterol, or small talk, numbing as a dial tone, serious as prayer. Looking good. In the movie Papillon, Steve McQueen, who's been in solitary 6 months in French Guiana, eating half rations and whatever bugs he finds, sticks his head out of the slot in the wooden door and asks the prisoner in the next cell, whose head is also out, "How do I look?" "Good," lies the other guy, who, like McQueen, looks qualified for corpsedom. "You too," says McQueen. "You look good," we say, without the prompt to the friend who's been in chemo or the relative stowed in the memory ward at Autumn House or Beacon Hill. "How do I look?" I asked Mom before the 8th grade dance, fumbling with my cummerbund. "So very handsome," she said, ignoring the zit moonscape and braces that gleamed like a caddy bumper. "Do I look okay?" the groom asked me at his shotgun wedding, eyes bleary, brow dripping. "She always looks so sweet," a neighbor said about Aunt Geraldine, dressed for company, her blue hair freshly permed. "It's a wonder," someone added after the viewing, "how they make them look so good these days."
People try to put us down, talking about my generation, just because we mess around, talking about my generation, not trying to try a big sensation, talking about my generation, I'm talking about my generation, talking about this is my generation, baby, my generation. Why don't y'all just fade away? Try to dig what we all say. Things look good, they're awful cold. I hope I die before I get old. What? I'm talking about my generation, talking about my generation, talking about my generation.
Elegy. Myrna Loy's been stolen from her prime years ago. You saw it in her ankles, thick as pines, that nose stripped by time of their elegance and sweep. It's a crime no punishment could stop. This troubling of our star, spun off from her prime. Must human beauty dwindle to a rind tattooed with liver spots, scored with wrinkles? Those ankles, those roomy eyes, no charm could save that face and figure so sublime they made the wily Dillinger less careful, dreaming of her partnership in crime. She played the perfect wife, the critics chimed in chorus till they saw the wattles dangling beneath that smile, breath stopping in its time. Yet most of us grow old. We shouldn't pine over one loss in a blight so universal. But Myrna Loy's been stolen from her prime, her cozy glamour, grub for the glutton time. Bob Steele, I hope some of you remember Bob Steele. He was a cowboy hero in the 40s and 50s. Bob Steele, 1907 to 1988. He rode out of our zenith after school in black and white days filled with antique odors starring Hoppy, Lash, Tex, Rory, all hailing from when Republic Pictures cranked out 50 B flicks of the Three Mesquiteers. Bob, worth the other two, and all the rest, was Tucson Smith in Lone Star Raiders, Pals of the Pecos, Shadows on the Sage, Saddlemates, Riders on the Rio Grande. Or hats were black or white, and goodness could stop villainy with a Colt 44 from half a mile away. Work-clad, lean, taciturn, and yes, steely-eyed, maybe a little on the short side. He showed the rules for manhood: shoot straight like a Mongol archer, call women ma'am, don't croon like Gene or swagger like the Duke. When he traded his 6 guns for a Gat in the Big Sleep, he could have won a staring match with Bogey if the script had given him a shot. You could buy Bob Steele comics in the 50s. After that, the parts got smaller and his dark hair whiter, till he wound up playing geezers, Trooper Duffy in F Troop, and last, Charlie in Nightmare Honeymoon. A footnote now, he filled theaters on weekends before the war, and on school day afternoons, his walloping posse from Generation Picture Tube. Bob Steele, the script must read, grew old, then died. But Saddlemates, you should have seen him ride. What a drag it is, getting old. Stolen from Mick Jagger. In Street Clothes, Sans Platinum Main, ex-rock god David Lee Roth looks a head shorter, his wise-ass grin gone jittery as a cornered pickpockets. He's pitching a new bluegrass version of Jump. In the video, his Nureyev leaps faded to a few obligatory kicks before a hapless band in a number that might do to open a Sam's or Costco. It's Borg trying for a comeback with his wooden racket, Nader running again, Keaton after the talkies came to stay. It's the old story which flops on the sofa and, after putting up its dogs, never tires of boring us to death.
What a drag it is getting old. I see a red door and I want it to turn black. No colors anymore, I want them to turn black. I see the girls go by dressed in their summer clothes. I have to turn my head until my darkness goes. No more will my green sea go turn a deeper blue. I could not foresee this thing happening to you. Maybe then I'll fade away and not have to face the facts. It's not easy facing up when your whole world is black. I want to see you painted black, black as night, black as coal. I want to see the sun brought it out from the sky, painted black.
Last words. If only for those you leave behind don't get forced to cram and get cut short. Like poor Max Baer, who noted, "Here I go." Or Pancho Villa, pleading, "Don't let it in like this. Tell them I said something." Ibsen, hearing friends outside his room agree that he seemed much better, had only time to sit up and announce, "On the contrary," then drop dead. Beware of the blind side, or you may depart like William Barton Rogers stopped midway through his commencement speech at bituminous coal. Or Dylan Thomas telling his White Horse Tavern buddies, "I've had 18 straight whiskeys. I think that's the record." Or Union General John Sedgwick, confident, "They couldn't hit an elephant at this distance." If you favor wit, you're up against the pros, like Heine, who said, as worried friends pressed around, "God will forgive me. It's his métier." Voltaire, when asked by Priest to forswear Satan, countered, "This is no time to make new enemies." The Grand Pavlova quipped, "Get my swan costume ready." If high sentence is your choice, there's always John Q. Adams's "This is the last of earth, I am content." Or, in certain situations, Patrick Henry's "Give me liberty or give me death." Though some say he followed up with, "Let me rephrase that." Or perhaps you'd simply like to underscore the world's injustice, like Thomas Grasso, who strangled one aged victim with her Christmas lights and said about his last meal, "I didn't get my SpaghettiOs. I got spaghetti. I want the press to know that." Fast forward with a little epigraph from Shakespeare, Prospero from The Tempest, "We are such stuff that dreams are made on." At our reunion lunch, the wall calendar starts to flip. May 1959, August 1965, June 2014, like in those corny movies where young folks suddenly find themselves doddering down Cemetery Lane. No, the years spin like that dial on Wells's time machine, but we're stuck outside, exposed in short sleeves and Bermudas, pickled down by decades of time's radiation, soon to be all chicken skin and blotches. No, it's that time-lapse shrivel when Dracula parties after vault time, ass dwindling, locks gone wispy white. No, it's some ad in an amnesia flick, bludgeon for some lad in an ad for an amnesia flick, bludgeon for his small change, who wakes to strangers talking prostates, colonoscopies, living wills. No, it's the Wicked Witch, or immortality doused by a child who's dreamed her. What a world, classmates, what a world.
If I go down, I'm gonna go down swinging. If I grow old, it won't be gracefully. I'm gonna trip and fall and pass it off as dancing. I'm gonna croak and moan, say it's a new kind of singing. I'm gonna go down swinging. If I go down, I'm gonna go down laughing at all the cosmic jokes that's been told about me. Punchlines between profound and pointless. Just remember one thing, you can't forget about me. I'm swinging.
It seems appropriate at this point. Well, that's interesting. We'll follow what's up there. It seems appropriate at this point to stand as you're able and to join our voices in singing hymn number 108, which apparently is How Can I Keep From Singing and not My Life Flows On an Endless Song. However, I believe that's part of the song.
Do not go gentle into that good night. Old age should burn and rave at close of day. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. The wise men at their inn know dark is right, because their words had forked no lightning. They do not go gentle into that good night. Good men, the last wave by, crying how bright their frail deeds might have danced in a green bay. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. Wild men who caught and sang the sun in flight and learned too late they grieve it on its way. Do not go gentle into that good night. Grave men near death who see with blinding sight, blind eyes could blaze like meteors and be gay. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. And you, my Father, there on the sad height, curse, bless me now with your fierce tears, I pray. Do not go gentle into that good night. Rage, rage against the dying of the light.